Hello everyone. Today we'll be solving Pearson EDEXCEL IGCSE 9-1 Chemistry Paper 1C May 2021. In this particular video, we're going to be solving question number 1 to question number 4. This is the part 1 video. In the part 2 video, you will get question number 5 to 7. And in the part 3 video, you are going to get question number 8 to 10. So let's start. Question number 1. The box shows the names of some substances. We can see bromine, carbon dioxide, copper, iodine, methane, nitrogen, sulfur dioxide, and water. Complete the table by choosing substances from the box that match the description. Each substances may be used once, more than once, or not at all. A good conductor of electricity. So a good conductor of electricity must be a metal. So it must be a metal. So from this list, we can choose copper. Copper is a good conductor of electricity. Okay. Then it says an element that has a basic oxide. An element that has a basic oxide must also be a metal. So it can be copper. A substance used as a fuel. A substance that can be used as a fuel can be methane. Methane is an alkane and it can be used as a fuel. So methane. A major cause of acid rain. We know acidic gases are major cause of acid rain, and over here we can see sulfur dioxide present. We are not going to consider carbon dioxide because it is naturally available all the time. It does cause acid rain, however, which is slightly acidic and is not harmful for the environment. So we'll consider sulfur dioxide. A non-metallic element that is a solid at room temperature. All right, so it has to be an element. We know bromine is a liquid at room temperature, so this is going to be crossed. Nitrogen is going to be a gas at room temperature, so it's going to be crossed. And element, iodine is an element and it's a solid at room temperature. So iodine. Now the question says, describe a test for carbon dioxide. A test for carbon dioxide can be performed with lime water. If we bubble the carbon dioxide gas into lime water, the lime water turns milky. Question number 2. Table 1 gives some information about the subatomic particles. Complete table 1 by writing the missing information. So electron, relative mass 0.0005, relative charge, we know electrons are negatively charged. So protons relative mass is 1. Neutron relative mass is 1. The charge is neutral, so it's going to be 0. Now the question says, give the name of the part of the atom containing protons and neutrons. We know that protons and neutrons are contained within the nucleus. So nucleus. Part B. Table 2 shows the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons in the species UVWXYZ. All right. We can see there are W and X with the same proton number, and Y and Z also with the same proton number. So if they have different neutron numbers, they will be isotopes. So in this case, they have the same neutron number in both of these cases. However, one of them has, in W, there is 11 protons and there is 10 electrons. So this is an ion. So W has lost an electron. So his W became positively charged. And in X, we can see there are 11 protons, there are 11 electrons, there are 12 the same, so it's nothing. So X is just X. Now, Y has 12 protons and 12 neutrons, all right. And then Z has 12 protons and 13 neutrons. So the mass number for Y is 24 and Z is 25. They are isotopes of each other. Okay, now for U and V, proton number 8, number of neutrons 10, electron number 8. So it's just a neutral atom. All right, and for V, number of protons 9 and number of electrons 10. So it must be V minus. It has gained 1 electron, negative ion. So let's carry on to the questions. Use the information in table to answer the question. Species may be used once, more than once, or not at all. Give the letters of the species that has 6 electrons in its outer shell. Good question. 6 electron in its outer shell must belong to group 6. So when we have proton number 8 with 8 electrons, 2, 6 is the electronic configuration. So U will be the answer. Give mass of number Z. So Z has a mass of 25 that we have already found out. Give the letter of the species that is a positive ion. So from here we have already concluded that W is a positive ion. So W. Give the letter of two species that are isotopes of the same element. Isotopes of the same element are Y and Z. As we have already figured out, they have the same number of proton but different number of neutron. Part C. A sample of neon contains two isotopes, 20 and 22. The relative abundances of the two isotopes in the sample are Ne 91.2, Ne 8.80. Calculate the relative atomic mass of this sample of neon. Give you an answer to one decimal place. So this we must be carefully locating this one, because our answer must be one decimal place. So first of all, what we have to do is we have to find out the AR of neon. To do that, we are going to multiply their mass number with their relative abundances. So 20 into 91.2, 22 into 8.80, and then we are going to divide it by 100. Remember, it is going to be divided by 100 only if this and this value they add up to 100. If they don't, then don't divide it by 100. Just divide it by the number that they add up to. So in this case, once we do the division, all right, so we get, after we do all of the division, 2017.6 divided by 100, we get 20176. Now we have to answer up to one decimal places. So our answer will be 20.2. So relative atomic mass 20.2. Question number 3. Some sugar is added to cold water in a beaker. After some time, all the sugar dissolves and spreads throughout the water. Name the process that occurs which causes the sugar to spread throughout the water. So first of all, the sugar must dissolve, and then, so they already mentioned that it dissolves. The sugar dissolves and then it spreads throughout the water. So when it spreads throughout the water, that should be diffusion. Guys, some of us have this particular wrong idea. When sugar is given in water, it melts. Well, it doesn't melt. Melting of sugar occurs at very high temperature. If you put a pure sugar cubes in a hot pan and then you heat it to a very high temperature, it's very likely then it's going to melt. That is called melting. However, if you put it in water, it first dissolves, and after that, diffusion is the only thing that can happen to it. State 2 ways to make the sugar dissolve more quickly. We can, generally what we can do is that we can stir the mixture, all right, so that it dissolves faster. So we can stir the mixture, or we can heat that particular solvent. We can heat the mixture. A third thing that can also be done is grind the sugar into smaller pieces so that it increases surface area. Guys, we are writing surface area in shortcut, so SA. Next, pure water can be obtained from the sugar solution using this apparatus. If we heat the sugar solution, water will evaporate, it will pass through the condenser, it will turn into a liquid. The liquid will then drop into this particular flask. Name the process used to obtain pure water from sugar solution. So because we are obtaining something from a solution, that's why it's going to be called simple distillation. Because this distillation is only separating the substance that is going to evaporate. In this case, only the water is going to evaporate. The sugar is not going to boil. Explain the purpose of the piece of apparatus labeled X. So X is a condenser. We can see it's a Geiger condenser. All right. So we'll just name it condenser. And the main purpose of this is to condense. So explain the purpose of the apparatus labeled X. All right. So water vapor is cooled and condenses in the condenser. So guys, moving to question number 4. The question says a student uses paper chromatography in an experiment to separate the dyes in 4 different colorings E, F, G, H. The diagram shows the appearance of the paper before and after the experiment. So we can see in the pencil line E, F, G, H has been placed. F did not dissolve. We can see F did not dissolve. So the particular solvent that we have provided, F does not dissolve in it. Now the question says describe how the student could complete the experiment after putting a spot of each food coloring on the paper. Okay, so after putting a spot of each food coloring, all right, they can first of all the student can pour some solvent into a beaker, all right, and then place the paper in the solvent so that the food colorings and the pencil line is above the level of the solvent. Then leave the paper until the solvent reaches the level shown in the paper. In this case, the level reached by the solvent until this particular point. And once this particular place is reached, take the paper out and leave it to dry to get the results. Okay, part 2. Question says deduce the number of dyes in food coloring H. So let's see in the food coloring H, we can see there is only one spot. So food coloring H has only one dye. Suggest why food coloring F does not move during the experiment. So food coloring F, as we have already told, it did not dissolve. It did not dissolve into the solvent that we have provided. Part 4. Explain which two food colorings contain the dye that is likely to be the most soluble in the solvent. So, if any food dye that is most soluble is going to travel the farthest. So, in this case, we can see in E and in H. All right, in E and in H, we have this particular dye. So, we're gonna say E and H. So, they said explain as well. So, E and H. All right. The explanation will be they contain a dye that moved the farthest distance up the paper or has the greatest RF value, which means they are the most solvent. Part B. Determine which food coloring contains a dye with RF value closest to 0.67. Show your working. So in these cases, we'll always have to measure the distance that is moved by the solvent first. The distance that is moved by the solvent. So, okay. And then we'll also have to measure the distance that is moved by the dye. Now, in this case, we are looking for RF value of 0.67. When measuring the RF value, we must focus until the center. All right. So this could be the answer, starting from the baseline up until the center of the dot. So first of all, distance moved by solvent. Now, as it is not possible to measure this particular page, so we can go on with the values like let's say it's 60 millimeter and by the dye 38 millimeter. Then we calculate the RF value. Now once we do the math, 38 divided by 60, the answer comes 0.63. So we can say, it's a very close value. All right. So 0.6 closest to 0.67. So we can say, all right. So, we'll have to do the measuring, by the way. And the distance that we have measured for this particular, 38, it's from the G. So the value gives, the dye in food coloring, G is like the closest value to 0.67. Guys, we're done with today's video. Thank you for joining this particular video. And the part 2 and the part 3 video will be uploaded very soon. Keep an eye for that. Thank you. See you in the next video. Bye bye.